It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue-focused late-night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission really is to empower. Our mission is to inspire. And our mission is to provide you, that's right, you, the hard-working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you would call to serve it. On this episode, we have the one and only Kevin Bam Smith, who's in the building. He'll be talking about how not only to grow, but how to scale your business. What's going on, Kevin? How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show. We appreciate it. And now we're talking about how to successfully launch and grow a business. But let's step back, if we can, for a moment. Why are businesses still struggling these days to even be profitable, to even be successful? And they get all the numbers online that says, I don't know, 75% of businesses fail in the first year, 99% won't make it 5 years. So here's the question. Why are businesses still struggling today when they have so many access to resources?
A lot of it is just due to them not having a company set up right to properly position them so that they can be funded. A lot of them are trying to wear too many hats in their business. They don't want to hire, or they feel like it's they don't have the money to hire, so they just try to do everything themselves and eventually get burned out within 3 to 5 years of trying to do everything in their business.
So let's talk to two types of individuals first. Let's talk to the person out there that, let's say they have a full-time job and they're working. And they're like, okay, what are some of the challenges I'm going to have because I want to get the business going. I'm looking forward to it. What's maybe the first step or second step would you recommend to the person that's working and they're really trying to get their business launched?
The first thing I would advise them on is just really to start looking into some contract workers. You can go through Fiverr. You can go through so many different platforms that allow you to hire maybe the admin that you need. They got some overseas admins that are fairly affordable that allow you to help book and schedule while you are on your day job. So that means you're not worrying about trying to split time or trying to make sure you get those appointments set, or you have to wait till after you get off work. So just trying to leverage your resources in order so you can grow in the time frame that
And
you're working.
what are your thoughts on folks that just want to spend money? I mean, not spend money. They're like, whoa, you want me to spend money? I'm not making any money. Again, I'm not talking for Shay Brown, but I noticed someone sitting there saying, wow, he wants me to spend money already. What is his philosophy on bringing on, like you said, hiring someone from Fiverr or 1099? What is one or two things he might recommend I should look for, Shay? Because, sheesh, everybody wants my money.
Well, you have to just create a budget first. If you don't have a budget going into your year, it's going to be a challenge for you simply because you don't know what your bottom line is. And if you don't have a budget, then you don't have any guidelines first. So I would encourage that you have a budget to start off with. Secondly, I would just say that you just not only just hire the first person you see, but you take your chance and do your research. This is called due diligence. So we do our due diligence and we invoice or reach out to different people to get a quote from as many people as possible. Then you weigh your options. But if you do not have the money, then you might have to bootstrap it for a little bit until you're able to get to that level. So I would just encourage that you put money aside. If you are working, you might have to make some sacrifices. Entrepreneurship is not. It sounds sexy to the people that's watching on the internet, but when you have to make these sacrifices and decisions that's going to help grow your business, I mean, you might have to miss out on some things just to put that money back into your business. So it's not about trying to show the. It's not about showing how much money you made, but it's also just putting the money in your business and seeing it grow from there. And then down the line you can start reaping the benefits. But from the first 5 years, you should just keep your head down and work.
Now that we've talked a little bit to the person that's just starting the business and they're getting their toes wet, and don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, we'll come back to the structures. I know he threw out structures, and you're like, Shay, he talked about you have the right business structure. You don't even, that probably might went over some of your head. Okay, so I'll slow down for a moment. You said they need to have the right structure. they don't even know what an LL Cool J structure is, man. So if you can, somebody, I'm not saying you, some of you, I know y'all are bright folks, you get it, but can you slow down for a moment and give them maybe 1, 2, or 3 structures so they have some perspective on what you talk about when you say they don't have the right structure? We talk about an LLC, where you talk about S corp, or you just talk about structure for the business, just so we can all be on the same page.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So when I talk about structure, I talk about the standpoint of having the right entity for your business, because one thing that I've noticed from a lot of people that I've consulted with or coached, a lot of them are just some of them are just doing their business just rolling, and they don't have any proper structure, so they don't have protection. So when I mean that is, you want to make sure that you have, if you have an LLC, you need to know what that means to have an LLC. That's limited liability. So that means sometimes you might be protected unless it's some type of negligence or something like that, where you won't be protected. But also, if you're looking to kind of grow and offer shares, you may think about a S corp or a C corp. This is allow you to put you in a position so that when you are later down the line ready for funding, you have the right entity to help you for the funding portion of it.
And to the person that's listening and saying, I've been in business, he talked about launching a business, but he also talked about growing a business. Shay, can he share maybe 1, 2, or 3 keys? I'm in business. I've hired folks before, fired folks before. What are 1 or 2 of the 3 things that Kevin just, I know it's a loaded question because people are at different places, different spaces,
Yeah.
different industries. But what's 1, 2, or 3 things you might recommend to someone that's looking to scale, or as you said, grow the business?
Yeah. So for someone who's looking to scale or grow, I think I'll suggest that you just track where you are and where you want to be. We always forecast, we always strategize on what is the next step for us in our companies. So if I'm looking for year 2, year 3, year 4, how did that look on your income statement, or when you forecast and see how much money that you want to generate in the next coming years? But also understanding that what team member that I need first in my business that's going to allow me to get to that next level. So when you're thinking about a flow chart, you want to think about who's the most important hire to you. And when you're hiring that person, you want to know how much are they going to take off your plate so they can allow you to be the CEO of your company and not everything to your company. So once you figure out that portion of it, then it allow you to now start thinking about growing. So when you start putting strategies in place, you want to look at your marketing. How much are you really bringing in? What type of marketing campaign do you have across all social media platforms? When you think about your programming, are your contracts in place that allow you to meet the demand? If you cannot meet the demand, it's going to be hard for you to grow. So you got to see if you got the right team to meet the demand. You got to also understand how important your marketing campaign is when you have your marketing strategy so that you can bring more business in. But also, how are you treating the customers that you do have so that they are repeat customers? So you want to focus on these type of values that's going to help you grow your business instead of just thinking one off, I got to get more customers. But once you get them, how are you treating them? And that customer service aspect of it really helps people come back and actually refer more people to you.
Well said, man. Not everybody's read your bio. I know as famous as you are. Some folks are listening to the podcast now and they're listening in their ears. We got another group of folks that might be listening on their computer right now. And it's playing in the background. They're like, I'm listening, Shay. He's making sense and sense. Can I say it like that? Making sense and sense. He does a spoken word, y'all. He might throw a few things out there. But the question really to him is, who is Kevin Bam? Who is this person? What's his backstory? And what was that defining moment that led to him doing what he's doing now? So, 2-part question. What's your backstory? And what was that defining moment that led you to say, you know what, I'm going to help businesses start and grow as part of my mission?
Oh, simply, I started out in poetry. I was when I left college, a good friend of mine named Iggy Muella, he was already doing poetry, traveling professionally, and I wanted to jump into it as well. So once I got into it, I kind of understood that it was more to poetry than just performing. It was a business aspect of it. So I had to learn. I had to learn about marketing. I had to learn about contracts and negotiations. I had to learn how to budget. I had to learn how to forecast. I also had an agent, so I had to make sure that my contracts was in the right place, so that when I book shows on my own, that I got full compensation, so that I didn't get cheated out of my cheated like most artists get cheated when they not knowing the contracts, and they just end up performing, focusing on the art. Now I had to focus on the business. So once I did that, I ended up kind of going into a little real estate flipping for a little bit, and I met some more people there, and they kind of helped me. And I was just sitting in some meetings, and I was like, you know what? I don't know what's going on, but I need to figure this out. So I decided to go to business school, got my MBA, and then once I started doing that, uh, purchased a um, I purchased a franchise, and I was able to grow that franchise 800% in 6 months, because I was able to strategize and understand the availability and opportunity there for me to grow. It was a business partner of mine and myself. We was able to kind of figure out that, hey, we had a cleaning company, but we also understood that most of the cleaners in that company was just operating by themselves. So what happens if they get sick, or what happens if they get tired, or what happens if they need a vacation? Who cleans for them? So we was able to put together a program that allowed us to service other people in the franchising market, that offered the same clean, and we was making money hand over fist, and we was able to hire more people on our end, and we was able to cover more accounts, and that's how we was able to grow. So I looked at that and said, okay, well, I got this idea. Let's go into consulting. So I ended up starting consulting. I had my first client, and I took her. She was just selling hair out of a barbershop, and I took her to now opening up her own store, and looking at new locations. So those are the strategies that I use, and I just said, hey, you know what, this is me. I mean, I was performance is what got me into business, but once I found my way in business, I wanted to continue to grow. So I was just hoping to be able to get back to small businesses, because those are the backbone of America. They create the most jobs. So we need to put more people in place, so that they can grow and be able to offer more jobs to other people.
And how did you feel when you first made that purchase to get the first franchise? Were you nervous? Was it were you a little afraid at the same time? Because sometimes when folks are putting their hard earned money down, they feel that way. But we're just curious. We like your perspective. His thing is perspective, ladies and gentlemen. But we like your perspective. Were you feeling some hesitation, and what kind of pushed you over the edge to do the franchise route versus just starting your own company? And the reason I'm asking that, ladies and gentlemen, because some of you out there might be considering a franchise, right? So he said he purchased a franchise, and wouldn't it be cool to kind of understand, why the franchise route, and what was he thinking? So we're just curious, man. Talk to us.
Yeah, so the franchise route is, you use their business model, their network, their brand, and you don't have to really worry about having to go out and acquire customers like that, as far as, because they already have a brand. So I chose that route because it was a little easier, but it also, I had to think about, it was a huge step. I had to think about the investment, what my return on investment would be, how fast could we grow, what happens if we don't grow. I do risk assessments as well. So I just don't put money into stuff blindly. I want to make sure that I understood what I was going to get out of it. So once I understood that portion of it, I started to save up. So in the beginning, we asked about how we, if I'm starting a business and I don't have any money. Hey, I was working too, and I decided to say, hey, let me put some money aside, and I started putting money aside to build up to what I needed to get to. And once I got the money up, I went and met with the franchising representatives, and we went from there. So I had to make some sacrifices early on to get to that point. And once I got there, I was ready to go.
Wow. Thanks for sharing, man. Folks are thinking this guy has it perfect, Shay. This guy just goes from one business to another business. He's helping people grow. He's helping people get to the next level. We have a segment here called "Today is My January 1st." There's an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to find out if his life has always been perfect. Maybe he's had no setbacks. We're going to find that out in a moment. But for those folks that know what I'm about to do right now, this is one of our favorite segments, and the segment is called "Today is My January 1st." And if you're out there right now, you can go ahead and say those magical words. You wait to say it every night at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, that today is my January 1st. And for all of our new folks, you're tuning in for the first time, welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We love to have you here at the family. Today is our January 1st, is our personal mantra. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark or how happy it is, the past no longer equals the future. So my question for Kevin Bam on the other side as he's listening right now, there's two parts. Number one, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? And number two, where's the time, man, when things didn't go right for you, where there was some setback and you had to bounce back from it, if it ever existed?
Yeah. When I hit January 1st, I think it's now time to execute the plan that you had set forth in your planning season leading up to the January 1st. Because every year we end the year, we think about, oh, my next year is going to be my year. Next year is going to be my year. We always say that, but do we look and recap over the year? How did we do? So for me, January 1st is definitely the year to start executing, or the first day to start your execution on your plan for the entire year. And it's if you start out right and you stay consistent and you track your measurables, or what we call KPIs, key performance indicators, then you can make those adjustments along the year, and you can check it quarter by quarter to kind of help you stay on course to reach those milestones. So January 1st is definitely one of them times where I'm ready to launch my initiatives for the year.
And so now that was part of your setback, correct? Now you're ready to have your initiatives. Did you mention your setback, or did I
I
miss
didn't
that?
mention my setbacks yet.
I
So
mean, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to make sure that I'm paying very close attention and thinking, wow, maybe this guy's life has been perfect his whole life. No, I'm just joking, man. But seriously, I mean, you don't. It's just, this is not required. I don't put you on the spot. But if you don't mind, people want to know sometimes, man. Maybe you learned a lesson along this journey of life. Any setbacks you had to bounce back from?
oh yeah, absolutely. I had setbacks in business. Now the same franchise that I talked about growing 800% in 6 months, I had a setback. Because here's the thing: when I understood my business, going through my business program, I kind of understood contracts and working with um, as an entrepreneur, as a professional poet. I understood contracts, so I had to make sure that I was protected at all times. And one thing that we kind of understood with this certain franchise is that sometimes, depending on what franchise you get into, they can treat you like employees, like you don't feel like you really truly own it. And one of the things that I kind of understood in that was that we will purchase certain accounts. Now they would charge us 3 points on those accounts, and then they would turn around and uh, found a way to sabotage it and then resell it, and we still owe 3 points. So now they made virtually 6 points off one account, and if they're doing that by multiple accounts, so guess how much money they're making. So what I understood is that the accounts that we went out, now these accounts that they provided for us, now the accounts that we went out and got on our own, they didn't bother those. Our name was actually on those accounts, and we actually owned them. So we were paying for accounts that we never owned. So I understood that, and I said, okay. Once I did the observation, I looked in the contract and seen some of the areas that was in breachment. I did some research. I seen that they had a class action suit, and then I brought it to the table and I presented my findings. And they looked at each other. They looked at me and my business partner and said, "Well, how much do you want?" So that was just an understanding of being smart. So my business partner and I both had MBAs, so we understood and we were able to come to the table to negotiate that. But it was so many people that's in those franchises who don't have the luxury of having an MBA, like myself and my business partner. And then they ended up being struggling and not, or just giving away the business. So we was end up selling the business. So we had that was allowed us to understand how to properly plan, how to use our knowledge and education to not put us in a position where we can fail, but we can also benefit and get out of it. And I learned another lesson as a professional poet, having an agent. I had an agent. He would book shows for us. So he would go to conferences and we had to pay for those conferences. Now, sometimes those conferences don't yield the return. So if I'm paying $500 for you to be at a conference, but you got 20 acts under that same agency all paying for that conference, we paying for your food, flight, lodging, hotels, all of that, right? So we paying for the booths. But if we're not getting the shows that's supposed to be booked for us, now that's not a good return on investment. I just lost $500, and I'm not even really getting no shows that can pretty much match that. So I did have some times where uh, colleges was asking me to come back, and I would start negotiating my own contract. So they felt that I owed them. Now they told me that I got they got 20% on any show that they book for me, but any show that I book on my own, I get 100% of it. So I started figuring out that I'm getting 100% on my shows, and they didn't like that. So they started asking for the money. So when I brought up the contract, that said, well, in our contract, it states that you get 20% on all shows that you book for me. And I get 100% on all shows that I book for myself. Now, you haven't booked any shows for me this year, and I booked all the shows for myself. So why do I owe you 20%? And they was like, yeah, you right. And they couldn't say nothing about it. So they ended up dropping me because I was too smart for them.
Yeah, and you understood. It sounded like two skill sets. One, the contracting side, but you also had the skill set of going out and talking to folks and representing who you were as a person, as well as the value you bring to the venues you were booking yourself in. Because there's some folks that are listening saying, "Well, Shay, sales ain't my jam, or I got to talk to people." Oh my goodness, I don't mind the contracting side, but Kevin got both sides of the table, which is very, very unique.
Now I wasn't always, I was a very shy kid. Like I didn't talk at all.
What
So to
what the
see
point? You get out of here.
So to see that I'm now doing, I speak, then I spoke around the country at different various colleges and universities, inside of prisons, like and doing poetry and sharing my art, and then actually just speaking on panels, sharing my knowledge in business. Like that's something I never seen myself doing. Couldn't even imagine it because I was so shy. But one thing I can add to as a tool of advice is that you got to step outside your comfort zone. Sales wasn't ever my thing, but it's an art to selling. And if you kind of understand just how to have a general conversation and to listen, that's going to help you close a lot of deals versus just trying to get your script off. And one thing when I say that, get your script off, is that when we in sales, they give you this script and you got to read through that script. And no matter how much people talk, you want to try to stay on script and you don't listen. So I found out that you're not really listening. You're just really trying to get the script off. So are you really helping the customer or the potential client, or are you helping yourself? So once I understood to just listen, they're gonna tell you exactly what they want, and then you can now use those tools of information to now position yourself to close the deal. So sales is just about listening, and more so understanding how your product or service really benefit their need. And when you have great knowledge of your product or great knowledge of your services, then it's easier to pinpoint at a high level what areas you need to talk about in order to make them feel more comfortable about moving forward with you.
Wow. You know, one of my favorite questions to ask, and thanks for sharing, giving us a little bit of the backstory of the backstory. We appreciate that. Is what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given, right? And to frame it for the audience and those folks that are watching, you think about it. He's had so many mentors along this journey of life. And I believe success is a team sport. You can only get so far by yourself. So, of all the mentors you had, some you met, maybe some you just watched online or through books you read, if you had to reach out and grab this one piece of advice that you would share with the audience, what would it be? And you at home, you get to lean forward now because you may never meet his mentor. You may never come across their path, but you get to enjoy this one moment and use it for the rest of your life. So the question is, what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given?
The best piece of advice I've ever been given was that nobody is self-made. Everybody comes from a community, an environment, and it's always somebody who then came before you that inspired you to get to the next level. It was always somebody who gave you a shot when nobody else believed in you so that you can prove yourself and get your feet in the door, get your feet wet. So oftentimes we hear this term that, oh, I'm a self-made millionaire, I'm a self-made billionaire. No, everybody needs everybody. So when you are a CEO of a company, even though Steve Jobs got all the praise for uh, cohabitating Apple and bringing it up to where it was, it's the people every day that's not seen on TV that makes Apple work. All the people in the C suites, all the people that manufacture the phones, that write the code for the technology, These are the people that help make it work. So without them, Steve Jobs would not be where he is. And you need the consumers on the other end of it to buy it. If don't nobody buy your product or service, you are nothing. So you're not nothing without the consumers. So we have to understand that nobody is self-made. We all need somebody to help us get to that next level. And if we can keep that sense of humbleness, we can go very far, and we can actually help more people get to where they need to be.
Perfect. What do you do for fun when you're not out saving the world, man, helping small businesses grow and get to another level?
I'm an artist at heart, man. So I like to draw, create. I like to write poetry, listen to poetry, comedy shows, hanging out with friends, traveling. These are some of my luxuries of life that I like to do of hobbies.
Man, that's super amazing. As we come down the home stretch, two-part question. Number one, what type of clients is your firm looking to take on these days, if any? And number two, how can folks best connect with you? How can they stay in this conversation over and beyond today?
Yeah. Well, I just hope the clients that I'm looking to hopefully help one day is people who are looking for coaching. Maybe you have a business and need some ideas and need some strategies to help you grow. Maybe you're looking to start a business and don't know where to start. I'm here to help you. I'm your guy. I look for those people who are open minded and know that they can do it by themselves. And once they understand that, then they know I can help them. And also, you can connect with me on um, Instagram, Twitter, all Kevin Bam Smith. So it's easy. Just type in Kevin Bam Smith and I will come up.
Well, let me say, man, thanks a lot for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man. Thank you for having me.
And thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this, because without you, well, there is no show. So we appreciate every share when you share it forward. We appreciate when you pay it forward to someone else. If you haven't connected, make sure you find us, connect with us over at I am Che Brown. With that being said, I never get tired every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Share with you how special you are, how you're so awesome, how you're so amazing, how you're so incredible, how you're someone that's making a huge difference in the world, and that no matter what's going on in your life, that today in this moment is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name is Che Brown. It still is. It hasn't changed. Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. Thanks a lot, Bam. I appreciate it, man. We out of here. Peace.
Yeah.